Hello and welcome to Tefera. A group of Ethio-American medical doctors is set to build what they call the medical city here in Addis Ababa. If all goes well, in 3 to 4 years, Ethiopians with resources will not have to fly east seeking medical treatment they cannot get here in Ethiopia. Is that a pipe dream? My guest today, Professor with-Girma Tefera, is a board chairperson of the Ethio-American Doctors Group, the force behind this venture. A very warm welcome to the program, Professor with-Girma.
Thank you. Thank you, Tefera, for having me again.
The Ethio-American Doctors Group, it sounds like a club.
It's a special club, actually.
What makes it special?
It makes it special because having almost 250 physicians who are originally from Ethiopia to come together for a noble idea is not something you see every day. And actually, if you look, you don't really find any examples of such exemplary unity. So that, I think, makes it special.
Forgive me for saying this, but it's very difficult for Ethiopians to come together, even if you're doctors.
Yeah, I understand. So so far, so good. I hear you, and, I really feel and understand what you say. But this is now a group that has been together growing, actually, since 2011. And I think it's a group that has come around a passion, and that passion, which is a passion of trying to give back back home, pretty much, is, I think, a very strong uniting force.
How would one gauge the strengths of your club?
So how would you gauge it? So I think there are so many ways you can see this. Of course, as I said, it started in 2011. There were about 12 visionaries who kind of got together and started talking about it and trying to see and find ways to really impact the healthcare delivery in Ethiopia. So that's how it started. And subsequently, it all went by pretty much word of mouth, friends talking to friends. And as you know, most are originally from Ethiopia, so went to school in Ethiopia. And so they either know each other in school or, there might be juniors and seniors. So you can see all age groups, all different specialties. This group has basically members from almost all the continents as well, because some are in Europe, some are in the Middle East. There is even some from the islands, and of course some from Ethiopia. So it really has a diverse collection of individuals.
We'll come back to that, but passion and friendship can get you only that far.
Yeah.
There must be something else to that too.
Yeah. So health is, as you know, apolitical. Health is also something that when you come and see your own families and your own friends and friends' families, and there are so many personal stories that has at least somehow touched everybody. And I really think that is deep down inside. I personally think that is probably the strongest unifier, because of personal stories that have affected each individual in the group. So although we don't talk about it, but I think deep down this urge to give back, contribute, not just sit and watch, I think is coming because of also that personal motivation.
Also coming because of that personal motivation. But this is a business model. You're going to build a medical city. Mm-hmm. So literally a medical city, right?
Yes.
When you say, there is personal touch, if you will, to the whole story, that you guys come to Ethiopia and see how the healthcare system is performing in this country, and then you decided to play your part. Right. Fair enough. But when you develop your business model for this health facility that you're working on, the targets are basically people who have money, tourists traveling to Ethiopia, or foreign residents in the country. Basically, quite a chunk of the population is left out of the equation. So your target is basically to folks who have the money, right?
No, I don't think that is a right characterization. So from the profit perspective, the business model perspective, I think that is something we actually talked about and decided deliberately to do this because you want this to be a sustainable model. You want this to really last forever. And you cannot create dependency with charitable kind of function. So that was really the reason why the model of for-profit kind of organization was critical. So that said, in Ethiopia, as you know, over the past maybe 15 to 20 years, there has been an amazing amount of improvement in healthcare delivery, particularly when you look at the primary healthcare perspective, right? So which resulted in better, in significantly improved, child mortality, maternal mortality, and also even if you see the life expectancy has jumped from the 40s to the 60s. So there is really a lot that has been done in that primary care. But what you see is that void or that space for the higher and tertiary care level kind of care. But when you bring something like that, you add value actually to everything else. So you add value to the training that happen in the country. You add value to the healthcare delivery in general, and you add value also to actually giving access to those who can't make it out, to those who cannot go elsewhere. And so, yes, it is a model that is really aiming very high, and that's how we have to aim, as high as possible. And I hope by bringing this added value, we can really contribute to some level to improve, within the entire healthcare delivery system.
Are you planning to expand in terms of providing the services to reach the wider population without replacing the role of the public hospitals here?
So I really think there is already a tier system in the healthcare delivery, as you know. And so we just want to add value to that, right? So that's the premise. So that said, and I know where you want to get to. So I understand what if someone doesn't have money to get this high level care, or what if, so, there are a lot of different ways to approach this, of course, but I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of private hospitals in Ethiopia, as you know, and they all have business model where they manage and take care of the poor, the rich, and so I think the same will apply to our organization and our hospital. I personally hope that with the value that we are trying to add, we are going to work, in synergy with the private hospitals, the public hospitals that would refer or send, patients who otherwise would have gone abroad for care to stay here. So that's, of course, the main thrust of this. But there are also those patients who, for many reasons, usually financial, may not be able to go abroad. So in that case, there will have to be a lot of creative ways that we have to come up with. There might be foundations that we may have to use. We may seek some government assistance to help. We want to actually even create our what we call the EADG fund that might be used for this purpose. So I really think this has to have a much more holistic response and answer, and I don't think it's going to fall only on the shoulders of our hospital, but I think we want to integrate and be part of the healthcare system, and so so as such, we should be basically treated the way other hospitals are.
But you said add value. That's where you're going to play your part, right? I mean, add value is a very interesting word. What does it mean? I mean, leading by example, perhaps, or you have a training component to the whole exercise, or what is it?
Yeah, add value means what you just said, of course. But on top of that, if you see the composition of our membership.
From 35 specialties.
Right, there is about 35 different specialties, and all of them may not come, but these are specialists who have really functioned in the delivery of healthcare at a very high level, because of the hospitals where we have been fortunate to work. And so when we talk about adding value, it means creating those specialty and subspecialty kind of treatments that becomes really much more highly specialized, that at some point will have to be, a site of training and education, and having basically the services that you provide from a much more generic to a much more specific kind of care. So when you do that, then the entire, list of medications will change. The entire set of diagnostic workup you do will change. And so all that will bring some new things, because of basically the specialists. So when you do that, it is not going to be only on this island of the EADG hospital, but it will bring also to the other hospitals, be it private or public, because you will bring some additional value that way in that you can add to the system by bringing education, and also by bringing that knowledge and adding to the knowledge basically the next steps, which is expanding and improving the services you provide and delivering the patient care as an internationally accredited place. So there are standards we have to follow. Yeah. So those standards hopefully will also trickle down and so on and so.
Interesting. So can you help me visualize the whole project, this medical city?
Yeah, sure.
Walk me through the major steps in.
Yeah, so the major steps. So first one is really the main challenge when you want to come up with a highly specialized medical facility. Yes, finances are always the challenge, right? But next to that is, I think, finding the right personnel, the right specialists. And so that has been the first focus we had. We wanted to have the specialists trained, in Europe and in the United States, who wanted to basically give back in terms of services to back home. Now, so because of that, we were able to get first focused on getting only this physician group. So we said this is going to be a doctors group that's specialized, wants to go back. We had a mission statement which basically reflects that we want to build a financially self-sustaining tertiary care hospital. And so that has really been the first piece. So over the 2.5 to 3 years, the numbers went from 12 to 250. And at this point, I think we got also not only a business plan, but also really a lot more interactions with government officials here in Ethiopia as well, where at least we introduced our plan, what we wanted to do. And from Ethiopian government perspective, there was really a very positive response. And then we went through identifying a land so that the government can really provide us space to build this hospital. And so that has been now accomplished. We have been working through the design process. It is, hospital design is a very complicated matter, and in Ethiopia there are no medical hospital architects, by the way. So we had to really hire an American firm to do this, so that we really wanted this at a much higher level functional hospital. So that required to wait until we acquired the land. So once we acquired the land, now we are going through the phases of the design. The design process has about 5 phases, from space to schematic design to design development, construction, documents, and so on and so forth. So we are almost at the construction documents level.
Which means you're planning to launch this officially when, in April, the groundbreaking?
So, yes, so we have at least part of the construction documents completed, and we want to get the work started in April. So that's the timeline we have set for ourselves. We are now basically reaching out to institutions in Ethiopia to participate in the financial piece of the construction of these documents. We have reached out to some banks and insurance companies to be part of this socially impactful endeavor, and hopefully we will get to the financial piece covered pretty soon.
Are you hopeful?
I am very hopeful.
The skeptic would say another stillbirth.
I hope, I had actually spent some time last month going around and discussing this issue, and the environment was really very receptive and very positive, very positive. So I am really hopeful that these institutions will respond positively. We hope also.
What if they don't?
Well, if they don't, definitely timeline-wise, it will set us back. And we have some Plan A and Plan Bs. We'll have to revert to Plan B. We have a commercial bank of Ethiopia also, willing to, of course, provide loan. We have international organizations, particularly those in healthcare industry, also engaged. And as you know, Ethiopia is a very active economic prosperity area, so there are a lot of companies that are eager, actually, to come to Ethiopia and invest. So, however, we are also trying at this juncture really to focus this as an Ethiopian project, and we will definitely have some international groups participate as well. So we have some Plan A, Plan B, and as you said, nothing is always 100% certain until you see, the ink drying right on the piece of paper. But at least we have been through, a couple of years now, the physician group, and we have shown stamina that we are going to stay together. We have gone through, this long process, and that's the other piece, How many groups have stayed this long and put their money? Just to give you an example, when we started, one of the requirements for the physicians to join the group was to pay $30,000 and commit at least 2 weeks of their time. So that was how we started this. And so people are not only committing their time, but also their money on this project. So I am really very hopeful that this viable business plan would be favorably seen by,
if all things go according to plan without resorting to Plan B.
Yeah.
When do you expect this facility to come off the ground and say, hey, here we are?
Yeah, I think the entire process will probably take about 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, it will probably take about.
Well, that's quite ambitious.
It's ambitious because we have already spent time doing a lot of the groundwork.
But it basically took you five years,
right? But
to get here
because of again. However, there is a lot of groundwork that needed to be done, which we have been doing. And so part of, I think, the timeline is so ambitious because we are not really starting from the scratch. It's like, instead of starting from 0, it's really starting from 3. So that's what I'm saying. We have a little bit more ambitious timeline. So that said, nothing in a straight line, right? So there are things that can be challenging, even from construction perspective. The timelines in Ethiopia are not usually respected. So there is a lot of unpredictable things that are going to happen. But we just need to address them as they come.
Once you open your doors for services, of course, you've got to build trust, because very many Ethiopians who have the resources would rather want to fly to Bangkok or many countries in the East, very cheaper, including for folks from from the U.S. and Europe. They travel to these for services at cheaper, really first class. You have to be able to develop the trust. How ready are you for that?
So our goal, actually, and our vision is to make this place an internationally accredited hospital. So when you talk about international accredited hospitals, there is standards you have to follow, just from the patient experience point of view in all of its aspects, including, of course, the care and treatment you provide to the patient, and including the personnel you have. And so we are going to be measured by that standard, which hopefully will be a surrogate for the level we are aspiring for, and at the same time, of course, build trust. And I hope our fellow, Ethiopians will see, their citizens, talking in their native language and communicating their problems, in a much more straightforward and culturally sensitive manner, which will again be something really important. And so you're right. So we have to definitely build trust and earn their trust. And so we're not taking this lightly.
And there is no guarantee that yours could be a less costly one. There is no guarantee, is there?
So I think it will be less costly. I think, I don't have in front of me, all the business, numbers, but I think it's going to be less costly. And what kind of value are you going to give someone who's really sick, staying here, home, with his or her loved ones, compared to going 5,000 miles away? I mean, there is really a lot of additional things that hopefully people will see, more than also, of course, the care that we should provide.
Thank you very much, Professor Girma, for once again being on my show.
Thank you, Tefera.